Hello friends, welcome to my first ever tutorial. Today I'm going to color the skin on this fabulous illustration by Gloria from Line Artsy, and you can also get this image by going to lineartsy.com, and you can sign up and you will get an email with this image. You'll soon see a list of all the pencils that I've used for the skin in this tutorial. I've used mainly Faber Castell Polychromos, but I've also used the white and black from Luminance. The paper I've used is Canson Bristol paper. This is a very smooth surface paper, so I found that it's not ideal for layering many layers of color on top of each other. Anyway, I decided to just stick with this paper for this tutorial, and then I'll try to find a more suitable paper for the next one. As you'll see in a few seconds, my colouring process might be a little bit messy. I don't by any means follow like a textbook perfect approach to colouring the skin. I don't finish up in one place and then move on to the next. I'm more like a bit all over the place, as you will see. When I colour on grey paper, which I prefer to, I start with adding the highlights, but with white paper I will start with the shadows, but with a bit of with a lighter pencil. I've tried to make my process a bit cleaner and maybe a bit more tidy, so that it will be easier to follow and easier to understand and see what I'm doing. But in the end I decided that I kind of need to do it my own way, because really that's the only way I know how to, and I just really hope that it will be useful for you as well. With that, I think we'll just start. I start by adding a light colour, in this case cinnamon, and I add that to all the places where I know there will be shadow. I will go darker later, but I always find it safest and easiest to go a bit light, just to see that I've placed the shadows in the right place. I never really have a plan when I start, like with the skin or really anything with the picture. I just, figure it out as I go along. Here I've moved over to one shade darker, so this is burnt sienna, and I pretty much just go over the same areas that I figured out that yes, this works to have shadow in these places. As you can see, this is one of my favorite pencils and one that I use quite a lot, so that's why I need to have an extender on it, and this is probably my third of burnt sienna. When colouring on white paper, it's really very hard to mask or cover the black lines. I mean, you can use Posca, but I find that it doesn't really look that good. I use it in some places, like on the lips and maybe a little bit on the eyes, but otherwise you can't really colour over it in a good way. I think that's if you use a white paper with a bit more tooth, like so it's a bit not so fine, that it's probably possible to cover it a bit more with white pencil, and especially if you use the white from Luminance, which is my absolute favourite pencil in the world. It's just so much better than both the Prisma and the Polychromos, I find. So I've moved on to a darker shade, Caput Molten Violet, and still going over the same places. You can see now where I've added my darkest shadow around the eyes, underneath the nose, and also on the chin. I also like to add a bit of darker where you see where I to try and make for some cheekbones, because I just find that it gives more structure, and especially on these small drawings I don't want it to look flat. I've seen that many people tend to first add the colours, quite roughly, and then go over in the end and just smooth everything out with either a blender or a lighter pencil. I find that that doesn't really work for me because I'm not that confident that all the colors are in the right place, so I like to just smooth it out as I go along and then just add more and more. And that normally works fine, but it is a bit difficult on this paper, as I said, because it's so smooth, and after a little while it gets difficult to add more color to it. So here I'm just still going over with the 2 lighter pencil, just trying to smooth things out, both the cinnamon and the burnt sienna. I'm sorry if my hand is too much in the way, but that's kind of difficult for me to do anything about. Now I think the face is starting to take shape. The shadows around the nose, I think, is fine. So now I start adding a bit of red. Then I just really add that a bit everywhere. You know, a mixture of colors I think is good. But especially then on the cheekbones. Then I use a bit of purple on the darkest places. So that will be around the eyes, under the nose, and also probably on the edges of the face. So the next thing I do now is that I go over with the lightest pencil that I have and just try and smooth everything out. I don't really want any part to be completely white. And again, I'm using all of the pencils that I've already used, as I'm seeing that yes, I can go darker here, I can go darker there. I don't know if you see that now, but the nose is a little bit crooked, and the reason for this actually is because as I was filming, I could see the image on my computer, which was mirrored. So every time I looked at the computer trying to fix it, I obviously fixed the wrong side, but I will adjust that later on. So now that I'm starting to be quite happy with the features, I go even darker. So this whole setup with the camera was very much a homemade system. So if it's not big enough, if the quality is not okay, if it's too fast, any comment that you have, I'm very happy to take, and I'll try to adjust it and make it better for the next one. Also, as I'm colouring, it's getting darker outside, so you can probably see that the lighting changes throughout the video. And for the next one, I'll make sure that I have better lighting, but I hope this is okay for now. A few comments on how I do the nose. The end of the nose, or the tip or whatever, under there I have it quite dark, and then there's a little bit of light on the side of the nostrils, and then obviously the top tip, or how to say, it is quite light, with a little bit of shadow on top of that, and also it is a little bit darker right between the eyes, so like the nose back is light and the tip of the nose is light. Otherwise, I have highlights on the middle of the forehead, also the cheekbones, the eyelids, and the chin, and close to the eyebrows. And yes, also next to the eye sockets closest to the nose, there will be, it will be quite light. Underneath the eyes, there's normally some shadow. I've added a little bit here, but as she has her eyes closed and quite heavy eyelashes, it's not that prominent. On the side of the nose back, you can see that there is a little bit of highlight as well. And I think this gives the nose a bit of a more natural look, because if you see a picture, you can normally see a little bit of light there, I think. By the way, if you're not familiar with the work of Gloria from Line Artsy, I strongly urge you to take a look. I think you can have a look on her website, and also she has Etsy store. She has so many absolutely gorgeous coloring pages that you can buy quite cheaply. Also, if you sign up, you will get one free coloring page a month that you can download and print out yourself. You can also print it out, not just with black outlines, but also with grey, so that the lines doesn't show that much, which is quite neat, I think. Now I'm just adding the eyelashes and a little bit of shadow underneath the eye. The eyelashes, I just colored the area with just with black. Can't really do much more than that on this, I think. So for this tutorial, I chose to use mainly Polychromos pencils, but my plan is for the next one to use Prismas, and then I think later on I will go on to using a mixture of pencil, which is what I normally do. So the colors that I chose for skin color for this one might be a little bit random. I just took the first pencils that I found that I thought would work, and I think they do. This is not to say that this is the only combination you can use. Okay, so now I've started on the lips with Pompeian red. This is a darker red color, which I first just use on the outlines of the lips and in the middle. Then I'm adding some lines with the red to make it more lip-like. Then I just decide I need to add a little bit of shadow underneath the lower lip. And then also on the nose, or on the side of the nose. This might be when I start seeing that there's something a little bit off with the nose. I often tend to do this, work on one part of the face, then seeing that something is off with another part of the face, and I just have to fix that straight away. Which might even be a good thing, because if I left it, maybe I wouldn't notice it later on. Now I add some more darkness or shadow to the lips and more lines to get the lip structure. I do still find lips quite hard, but I am doing my best. But obviously here you have the quite dark outlines, which doesn't make it look very natural, and I will try to do something about that in a bit. So this is one of those instances where I will use white gel pen or Posca. And you can see here I add it to the side of the lower lip and also to the top. And then I add a bit of white dots to the eyelashes as well. Now I just try to smooth out the transition between the black lines and the white that I've added. Soon now, or actually right now, I'm doing something that I turned out not to like. I add too much shadow underneath the nose, and I don't think you have to do that. I didn't like the look of it, and I think I will try to erase it, or at least make it less visible later on. But yeah, we are now nearing the end of the face coloring. Here I add some black to the neck, which I later erased because I didn't want to have it that dark. And this is the problem with white paper. It's not that easy to erase, so when I try to color over it after, it's not looking the best, but you live and learn. Again, please let me know what you think, if there's anything you want me to change or add, if you would prefer for there not to be a voiceover, if you just want text. Yeah, just let me know. I'll add another video for the hair, which I really struggle with paper with pencil on this paper. So I did the first half of the hair just with pencil, which didn't really look so good, and I think I'll try to do the other part of the hair with markers and pencils, just so you can see the difference, and also so I can see the difference, because I don't really know how it will look like on this paper, but I want to give it a go. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will have a video out soon. Thank you.